Hi everyone, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, I'm Tanya, a doctor, lawyer turned homeschool mom of 3 kids ages 11, 8, and 6. If you are interested in videos about secular homeschooling, raising a child with ADHD, and living a more essentialist lifestyle, you have come to the right place, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. In today's video, I am doing a very overdue flip through of my friend Hannah's Ocean Maine lesson block. Now, Hana is the mind behind Pepper and Pine, which is, I'm sure, one of our favorite homeschool channels. It definitely has been one of mine. Even though I'm not particularly Waldorfy in my own homeschool style, I have been so inspired by Hannah's approach to meeting your child where they are developmentally, and it really has influenced how I structure my day with my children. I am much more of a classical and Charlotte Mason style homeschooler myself, but I really find that there is so much beauty to be derived from the example set in Waldorf lessons. I really like their idea of lesson blocks. I like the idea of guiding your approach to study based on the child's developmental age. I also really appreciate how they switch between different types of activities throughout the day so that you don't just stay in a headspace, for example, doing very highly academic activities all day long. You switch between like a craft or hands-based activity and then like body movement and then spiritual work. I like so many things about the Waldorf philosophy without necessarily being a Waldorf educator myself. So that being said, if you want to explore more about Waldorf, Hannah's channel, Pepper and Pine, is a great place to start. She also shares a lot on her Instagram, so be sure to check her out in both places. Now, Hannah's been talking about doing lesson plans for a while, and she actually has several available right now. Beyond just the ocean block, she has mental math available. She also has some Muslim study curricula available, so definitely check out the shop. All the relevant links will be in the description box down below. Hannah sent me this in exchange for my honest review, and I am, as always, impressed by how clear the lesson is, how well laid out it is, how beautiful it is. I'm just going to give you, this is her thank you card to me. Isn't it beautiful? Like everything she makes, even the curriculum looks beautiful. So you can see here, just visually, it's actually lovely to see. I love that she provided examples of what these student pages might look like in every different lesson. We actually use some of this book to guide our casual ocean unit study this fall. In the introduction, she lays out exactly what a main lesson block is. Now, this is not an entirely secular curriculum in the sense that it talks about the unseen. So for example, here it says, the purpose of these lessons is to spark the imagination, kindle a love of learning, and immerse the child in awe and reverence for the seen and unseen. And this is achieved in the following ways. So for example, the teacher orally delivers the lessons. The student has the option of doing the narration to reflect understanding, either as an original narration or as a copied narration where the teacher has it laid out for them and they copy it, or they dictate the narration and the student writes it down. Drawings accompany all the lessons. There's also hands-on activities, and there's poetry in each lesson as well. When you see the table of contents, you can see that it's laid out in 20 different lessons. You have the introduction, you have how to teach the main lesson block, and then you have the different topic areas. The topic areas extend from geography and geology of the West Coast, Sir Francis Drake, Antarctica, the Arctic, the Lewis and Clark expedition, Sacagawea, whales, colossal squid, giant squid, cuttlefish, and octopus. A section just on octopus, the nautilus, tides, tide pools, echinoderms, bivalves, crustaceans, seaweed, sharks, pinnipeds, and fish. So you go all the way through. There are no quizzes or worksheets or anything like that. It's very Waldorf based. After the table of contents, Hannah gives you a list of opening activities to your lesson. And if you'll notice throughout the lessons, every single lesson starts off with a suggestion of opening activities. And those opening activities can be mental math, music, singing and songs, modeling clay, different types of games, physical exercise, spiritual studies, narration. It can really be anything that just gets your student engaged, brings them to the table, sets a good, like a good feeling to open your lesson. If we turn to lesson 4 for the Arctic, seals, polar bears, whales, and the northern lights, you'll notice that every single lesson opens with a spiritual reading or a poem for example, here it's a poem, here it's a poem. Occasionally it will be an Islamic religious text, like an excerpt or a surah. So just to let you know, it's not entirely secular, but the readings are just spiritual in sense. So you have the suggestion for opening activities here. It says to refer to the section on opening activities for ideas. It has some flashcards by Ibu that are suggested as review cards that you can turn into a game here. She tells you how to write them into a game. Other ideas might be to draw a geological feature on a 4x6-inch piece of watercolor paper and writing a brief description and play. You can watch a video on the books and materials from her whale unit. These are hyperlinked, so when you get the PDF of this curriculum, you can just click on it on your device and it'll take you to the video. Here you have an example of a chalk drawing that you might do to illustrate this lesson. She gives you another option, like a map of the Arctic Circle. And again, if you are just new to Waldorf or if you don't feel comfortable with chalk drawing, you can really pull up an image of something like this. You can have a book open to a page of this. There are many different ways to get this visual without necessarily doing the chalk drawing. And I say this as someone who is not particularly confident in my chalk drawing skills. Then you have a section for review. So you're completing the drawing and narration from the previous lesson. You have a globe activity to do where you locate the North and South Pole. You review some words like glacier, iceberg, Antarctic. And then you have the teacher lesson again that you're going to present orally. So these pages look like a lot of text, but basically this is stuff that the teacher should read ahead of time and be able to talk about with the student. You could read it out to your student, though that's not really as exciting as just sort of absorbing this information yourself and presenting it as you show the chalk drawing or as you go through different flashcards or something interactive. I like to use those little tube animals and lay them out on different flashcards and things like that and have the kids match them up. And then we talk about a different one every day. That's what we did as we went through some of these lessons. Here you have a suggested narration here where after the teacher presents the information, how will the student reflect it back? I like that she gives you a suggested narration because as you'll notice, what they might say to you is not nearly as long as what you might have presented to them. You want to use the narrations to embolden them to talk in complete sentences, to tell you what they've learned, to really like reflect, like what did they pull out from what you've shared that you've resonated with them, you know? That's one of the reasons that having a visual present like a chalk drawing or an open book is so helpful because it just jogs the memory. You know, they can go from one thing in the picture to another and tell you about it without so much pressure. Here you have a student lesson to draw a polar bear, Arctic fox, or seal in a cozy den with the Arctic Ocean below and the northern lights above. And then you write a rough draft for today's narration or complete the narration from the previous day. She clearly lays out what materials you'll need and shows you a sample student watercoloring. There's some read-alouds suggested here. Whales, the Gentle Giants, Whales by Scholastic, etc., etc. And then there's Ocean Anatomy suggested also. That's the new Julia Rothman book. There is other resource material that she lists, and these are all hyperlinked, so it's easy to purchase if you wanted to. And there's assigned reading as well. So you can listen to the audio version of the book while working on the artwork for the lessons. It's very combined that way, so it's not like you're doing this and then moving on to this. You can really like put them together. Here you have a sample student narration, a written narration about the Arctic. And then there's a science demonstration at the end of this. So will ice melt faster in freshwater or saltwater? And you can really see the process with some drops of food coloring. So she really has created a very interactive lesson where you have this oral narration, you have a written narration, you have drawings, you have the visual input of the chalk drawing, you have a science demonstration. You can also have the audible listening of the story if you wanted. And then you move on to the next lesson. You have the Lewis and Clark expedition. And I'm just going to flip through to show you how she always gives you an example of the chalk drawing. The teacher information that you need is right there. The suggested narration, the materials, the read-alouds, the interactive lessons. And as it goes on, it's structured very similarly throughout the different lessons. And I really love how she gives you different types of information that you can use. Like for example, here she has the complete set of whale trivia cards that they've created on her blog post. So there's more to this curriculum than you might get with your original PDF, because the hyperlinks are really that rich, because she has been doing this for quite a while, you guys. This is just gorgeous and something I could never ever draw, but perhaps with practice. Here you can see the student illustration of that. And it just really provides a rich way of doing a unit study. We actually did not get this far in the unit study before we moved on, but I plan to re-enter this curriculum at the end of our school year in the summer before we go to the beach. And that's how I plan to use this curriculum, is to keep a flaggy where we are, and every summer when we go to the beach to just work on the next lesson that we're in. So there's so many different ways of using curricula like this. I'm the type of homeschooler that couldn't do this straight throughout because of the way our lessons are structured, but I think it's such a beautiful unit study and such a beautiful suggestion for how you can incorporate so many different sensorial projects into your homeschool day. And I'll tell you, as somebody who just read through this entire book on my own at the beginning, I learned so much about different ocean creatures, because that is not my wheelhouse at all. Here you have a picture of Hana and the editor as well. So really lovely book, and Hana wrote me a little thank you card at the end that was a beautiful watercolor craft as well. So I am very grateful for her friendship. I'm grateful that she sent me this for review. And if you are interested in doing an Ocean Main lesson block, I cannot recommend this highly enough. It is truly beautiful. In a few weeks, I will be doing a review of her mental math curriculum as well, so stay tuned for that. Hana, thank you so much for sending me this to review. I really do appreciate it, and my kids have enjoyed the first few lessons, and we look forward to getting back into it. It is designed to be an 8-week block, but as I said before, you can use it however you see fit in your own homeschool. And even if you are not a traditional Waldorf homeschooler, this is a great introduction, a gentle introduction into how you can incorporate some of these Waldorf concepts into your own day. As always, you guys, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it, and I wish you the very best day.